In behalf of the NSTP directors from the different CUs of the UP system, I would like to again welcome everyone, our organizing team, dear speakers, and participants. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Maraming salamat po, Professor Gayanan. Now, let us begin with our first presenter from UP Manila. Mr. Reginald Vallejos is an assistant professor and the current program head of the Development Studies program at the College of Arts and Sciences at UP Manila. He is currently the NSTP coordinator of the Department of Social Sciences. He was awarded the One UP Faculty Grant Award in Development for the academic year 2019 to 2021 and the Studies for Outstanding Teaching and Public Service at UP Manila. Let us all welcome Assistant Professor Reginald Vallejos for his presentation.
Magandang tanghali po, no? Maulang tanghali sa ating lahat. Mula po sa UP Manila, no? Araling Pangkaunlaran. No? Ito po ang aking presentation, no? Ano po ang anong ginawa namin, no? NSTP Online, Teorya at Praktika, tugon sa hamon ng bagong kadawian. Ayan. So bago tayo mag-start, no, medyo brief introduction lang ng aming programa, no? Development Studies Program ay isang multidisciplinary field of study na tinatry, no, na i-incorporate, no, sa kanyang pag-aaral ang economics, politics, social, technological, and cultural aspects ng social change. No, so halos karamihan ng aming mga graduates, no, ng programa ay may mga career, no, at particularly supervision ng socio-economic projects ng local and international scene, no, sa government institution, foreign service, non-government organization, and academic, katulad ko rin po. So ang daming mga opportunities na pwede, no, business, economics, financial analysis, managerial work, etc. Pero lately, no, halos karamihan ng mga graduates namin ay nandoon sa law, no, nagtutuloy ng law at may medicine, no? So marami na rin kami mga nasa field ng medicine, no? Ano yung mga research interest ng aming mga estudyante, no? Climate change and environment, energy and rural environment, urban studies, no, health and good governance, peace and development, land reform, rural development, at marami pang iba, no? Women studies. So napakahalaga, no, ng NSTP batay doon sa aming pag-aayos ng curriculum, no, nakita namin na malaking parte, no, ang gagampanan ng NSTP para doon sa mga mag-aaral namin ng development studies. So yung outcomes namin na iniisip, no, apply theoretical foundation in analyzing Philippine and third world realities, demonstrate research and communication skills for development work, tapos advocate nationalist community-based development scholarship and practice, apply learnings from the development of experience of other countries for community and policy development in the Philippines, and contribute to the improvement of marginalized communities through advocating participatory development. So ito yung usually na ginagamit namin, no, para ano din yung outcome ng NSTP. So batay doon sa mga discussion kahapon, no, pre-pandemic, no, syempre para sa amin, no, yung CWTS 1, ito yung teorya, no, kaya nga theory and practice, no, yung common module natin, no, na-discuss na rin kahapon, no. Tapos yung CWTS 2, ito yung praktika, community integration. So sabi nga kanina ni Ma'am Astrid, no, ito yung panahon na dinideploy natin yung mga estudyante, no. So pre-pandemic, ito yung mukha niya, no. Pumupunta sa komunidad yung mga estudyante namin, no, uma-attend ng mga activities, no. Meron kaming mga common module discussion, no. Kaya lang syempre after ng pandemic nagbago, no. Ayan. So ano yung mga output, no, na ina-expect sa mga estudyante pre-pandemic, no? Reflection papers, infographics, attendance, no, napakahalaga yan. Tapos yung final output, no, pwedeng audiovisual presentation, photo essay, o anumang mga creative work. Tapos dumating si ito pala, grading namin, no, nung CWTS 1, syempre napakahalaga ng attendance sa mga activities. Pina-follow pa rin namin, no, yung meron kaming tickler o kaya index card, no, pinapapirmahan, no, sa lahat ng mga activities na pinupuntahan ng estudyante, nandun siya, no. Napakahalaga din yung participation ng mga estudyante since pre-pandemic ito, syempre mahalaga check natin nandyan ba sila or nagpapapirma lang ba sila ng attendance o umaalis sila, no. Submission ng kanilang mga assignments tapos yung final output. So Sa grading, no, sa rubrics 15, 15, 30, 40. Tapos pagdating ng CWTS2, ito 'yon, sabi nga deployment, no? Merong orientation sa first week, tapos deployment na after second week. So kailangan mapuno ng mga estudyante, no, yung 54 hours ng kanilang CWTS2, no? Tapos meron silang final output na community project. So depende yan kung anong mga communities yung napupuntahan nila. So grading din, ganun din, no? 30%. Tapos may peer evaluation ka, tapos meron kang community project na final out. Then dumating si pandemic, no? So paano yung ating bagong adjustment sa bagong kagawian, no? New normal o bagong pangkaraniwan, no? Sabi nga nila. Nagpatupad tayo ng online remote learning. So malaking adjustment, sabi nga kahapon, adjustment and innovation, no, sa NSTP CWTS2. So ano yung ginawa namin, no? Nandun pa rin sa NSTP CWTS1, no, yung mga common module, no. Ang kagandahan lang nito, no, marami na kaming naiimbita. Hindi katulad nung face to face, napakahirap ng mga invitation, no. Kailangan free yung may invite mo. Pero ngayon dahil nga sa online siya, no, medyo komportable yung pag-i-invite. So may mga pagkakataon nakaka-partner namin. Halimbawa, ito, yung Diliman Book Club, no, naka-partner namin siya doon sa discussion sa Common Module on National Security, no. Si Professor Roland Simbulan, nakabahagi rin ng aming programa, ang naging speaker, no. Tapos ano pa yung mga adjustment doon sa CWTS1, no? Siyempre yung synchronous and asynchronous session, no. Tapos yung grading, malaking adjustment din sa amin ito dahil nga sa nagpatupad din tayo nung first sem, no, nung last year ng academic break, no. So yung 30% as activities saka assignments, no. Tapos 70% yung individual reflection ng mga estudyante, no. Pagdating ng second sem, no, medyo dito kami nahirapan, no. So paano natin i-deploy ang mga estudyante natin, no? Kasi gusto rin natin naman na ma-experience nila, no, ano ba yung praktika ng CWTS2, no, maging bahagi ng isang community, no. So yung first 3 sessions namin, community orientation, no, on community service, community organizing and community development, tapos advocacy planning, no. Tapos tinap namin yung mga partners namin sa practicum kasi yung aming programa ay may practicum, no, na halos 6 weeks na pagdating ng third year ng mga estudyante namin, mag-field work sila. So tinap namin sila, no, mga farmers, fisher folks, child rights advocates, no, artists, farm workers, at saka women farmers. No, tapos pumayag naman sila, no. So after ng 4th week, na-deploy namin sila sa mga partner organization. So maganda yung naging experience ng mga estudyante, no, batay doon sa kanilang mga feedback. Tapos sinasabi nga nila na sana merong face-to-face. So ano pa yung adjustment? Siyempre, katulad ng ginagawa namin sa practicum, no, binibigyan namin ng pagkakataon yung partner organization na magbigay ng grado, no. Ito yung 40%, tapos may individual reflection yung mga estudyante namin. Tapos group output, tapos peer evaluation. Usually ito yung example nung pinapasagutang peer evaluation, no. Ang kagandahan ng online dahil hindi sila nagkikita-kita, no, sa amin, sa experience namin, truthful yung pagre-rate ng mga estudyante, no. Siguro dahil nga hindi naman sila madalas nagkikita, kaya kung hindi ka talaga nag-participate, no, wala ka, no. Ang mahalaga din lang din, sabi nga natin, no, dahil nga nag-a-adjust tayo, may mga ibang estudyante yung mga sitwasyon nila, hindi sila nakakapag-participate madalas. So hinihimok natin yung mga mag-aaral, mga group leaders, no, na kontakin sila, no, tapos kasama din yung faculty. So ito lang ilang mga example ng mga activities nila sa online. May webinar, no, meron silang mga orientation, tapos yung mga final outputs nila. Ayan. So ano yung nag-work, no, doon sa amin, no, sa DevStud program? Una, yung paggamit ng mga learning management system. So pwedeng Canvas. Ako ang ginagamit ko ay Google kasi bahagi naman din siya nung ating naka-attach na rin siya sa ating email account, no. Tapos yung common module, malaki yung naitulong niyan. Yung course pack, no, nung dinevelop yung course pack ng NSTP, na incorporate na ano yung dapat na mga gawin, no. Sabi namin dahil nga online may nagbe-break ng boundaries. Dati napakahirap magpunta sa field. No? Ngayon, through online, no, yung ibang mga partners namin, nakakausap ng mga estudyante mula Isabela, no, merong Cagayan, merong Bulacan, no, merong Central Luzon. So, na-break yung mga boundaries na hindi na kailangang pumunta doon ng mga estudyante. No? Nag-work din yung synchronous and asynchronous. Batay nga doon sa mga suggestions, sabi ng mga estudyante, maganda kung once a month merong synchronous o kaya twice a month may synchronous para at least na-follow up sila. No? Reflection papers, no, malaki yung tulong niyan, lalo na kung tinitignan natin hanggang saan na umaabot yung mga natutunan ng mga ating mga estudyante. No? Tapos yung mga creative outputs nila, no, same pa rin, infographics, photo essay, may audiovisual presentation, etc. Yeah. Mahalaga din, no, na nag-work sa amin yung assessment and feedback. No? Sabi nga, weekly, no, binomonitor natin sila kahit wala namang synchronous class, no? Through messenger o kaya text, no, o kaya email, binomonitor natin sila kamusta na yung engagement nila sa community. No? Sabi din ng mga estudyante, mahalaga yung nagpapatupad din ng academic break at saka academic ease. No? Ayan. Ano yung naging challenge? No? Ayan. So internet-related issues, kahapon ang dami na rin binanggit dyan. No? So maraming mga estudyante na nahihirapan minsan doon sa internet. No? Minsan mahina yung signal nila, pawala-wala sila, nalalaglag sila doon sa mga activities. No? Adjustment ng requirements, no? Napakabigat din. So siguro sa bahagi ng faculty. No? So paano mo tatabasin yung mga requirements na pre-pandemic tapos kailangan mayroon kang compassion sa mga estudyante, etc. No? Tapos yun nga, yung different situation ng mga students. No? Yung ibang mga estudyante namin, nasa mga probinsya sila, so yun nga, mahirap ang signal, etc. Tapos nakita din namin yung limitation with partner organization. Itong mga partner organizations na ito, sabi nga namin, una, sanay sila na tumatanggap ng aming mga practicumers. No? Kaya medyo mataas yung expectation nila doon sa mga estudyante. So kailangan ayusin din yung pagpapaliwanag na itong mga ito, first year NSTP, yung mga dati nilang tinatanggap third year, no, na medyo bihasa na doon sa programa. No? Ano pa yung mga nakita? Yung gadget, no, na limitation sa mga partner organization natin. So may mga lugar na hindi kaya yung Zoom, no? So tawag yung ginagamit, so hindi rin na nakikita pero nakakausap naman nila. No? Yung iba hindi ganoon ka-techy, yung mga farmers, no, na nakasalumuhan nila, no, tapos hirap din sa internet connectivity. No? So tinitingnan namin baka pwede siyang maisama, no, doon sa if ever, no, gumawa ng bagong budget para doon sa online remote learning, baka pwedeng maisama kahit internet support para doon sa mga partner organizations o kaya internet support dun sa mga estudyante para at least makatulong din sila doon sa mga partner organization nila. So ito yung mga nag-work sa amin sa Development Studies Program. Sabi nga natin, no, mahaba-haba pa yung lalakbayin ng ating online remote learning. Marami pang mga challenges na haharapin. No? Ang mahalaga palagi, no, ay makita natin yung silver lining dito sa nangyayari sa atin at para sa programa namin. No? Palaging ipatupad yung theory and practice. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat po, Professor Reginald. And now we would like to present our speaker with the Certificate of Appreciation. The National Service Training Program, Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, University of the Philippines Diliman, presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Assistant Professor Reginald Vallejos for their active participation as a resource person in the NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup, given this 22nd of July 2021 via Zoom. Signed by Dennis Calala, Director of NSTP UP Diliman, and Giovanni Francis A. Legaspi, Deputy Director of NSRC UP Diliman. Thank you once again to Sir Reginald. All right, so we would like to remind our participants in Zoom and YouTube Live that we will have a Q&A session later. So please send in your questions and our guest speakers will answer them later. All right. So now Let us proceed with our second speaker mula naman po sa UP Mindanao. Mr. Giovanni Lapisige earned his bachelor's degree in physical education, major in school physical education from the University of Southeastern Philippines, Davao City. He is a licensed professional teacher, and within a year of his graduation, he began teaching in UP Mindanao in 2018. From then until present, he has been handling PE and NSTP CWTS subjects. He is currently finishing his thesis writing 2 for his Master of Science in Physical Education at the Father Saturnino Urios University in Butuan City. Let us all welcome Mr. Giovanni Lapisige.
Okay, so may audible ma'am?
Yes po.
Okay, so once again, good afternoon, everyone. So at this moment, I am going to discuss the CWTS online implementation and remote learning setup here in UP Mindanao campus. So just a brief description. No? So the CWTS in UP Mindanao is focusing on the sports management and development in a school or community-based sports program. This is to sustain academic degrees offered in human kinetics department, and as well as to sustain and promote the world-class facilities we have in UP Mindanao, such as the multi-purpose training gym, the track oval field, and the indoor swimming pool. Okay, so back then, yung wala pang COVID-19, so all of the activities that our students have conducted will be on the multi-purpose training gym. So noon yun. Pero ngayon is we are conducting online activities. So by the way, I am Giovanni Pisigi, and with no further ado, let's get started. So NSTP Online CWTS implementation in a remote learning setup. So first and foremost, I divided the given questions into 4 columns. The first 2 columns correspond to the first semester, while the third and fourth columns correspond to the second semester, so that I may be able to discuss our experience in delivering the NSTP subject in the distance learning environment. So first, common module implementation for the first semester. So first, course packs were created. The course packs were developed and created by the DHK, Department of Human Kinetics, professors and lecturers for both online and offline delivery. We use couriers and materials to students, to those who opted modular and USB, owing to lack or insufficient connection. And also, we uploaded our modules and our course packs to the Google Classroom during the first semester and UP Min Canvas during the second semester for those students who have a good or sufficient internet connectivity. Next is synchronous consultations for our students. So despite the fact that the UP system has utilized the remote learning delivery modalities, we, the faculty, we nevertheless evaluate our students' request if ever they will request from the faculty to have a consultation to address their concerns, their queries, their comments, suggestions, etc. We, the faculty of the UP Mindanao, were very compassionate in granting the request to have a consultation to address their concerns, etc. So next is weekly update on Canvas. So we know that our students have a numerous various or certain units that they have enrolled for the certain semester. So as a result, we always have a weekly update regarding to their activities that need to be done or to be submitted on time. For them to have an idea that meron pa silang mga activities that kailangan nilang i-submit on time. So yun siya. So the announcement will be done through the LMS Canvas or through the Messenger group chat. So we all know that the Messenger group chat is a very convenient platform to communicate and to give an announcement to our students. So we use LMS Canvas announcement and a Messenger group chat. Next is the voice over PowerPoint presentation. Since I have a little knowledge about technology, so I applied in the NSTP subject in transitioning to online mode of learning. So here's the example. So the flag and the heraldic code of the Philippines. So I put a voiceover for something, may mga discussion na magaganap, para ako nagtuturo habang they will playing the PowerPoint presentation. So allow me to play the PowerPoint presentation.
Now, let's discuss the flag. Now, let's discuss the flag and herald.
May voice siya, ma'am? Or may audio ba siya? May audio siya, ma'am?
Hello. Nawala po.
Wala siya.
Now, let's discuss.
Ayun, nagkaroon na po.
Wala na po siya, ma'am. May audio na po.
Nawala ulit.
Now, let's discuss the flag and heraldic code of the
Okay na.
Philippines.
Ay, wait lang po.
Now, let's discuss the flag and heraldic code of the Philippines. Republic Act Number 8491. This act shall be known as the flag and heraldic code of the Philippines.
Yun po. May audio, ma'am.
Now, let's discuss the flag and heraldic code of the Philippines. Republic Act Number 8491. This act shall be known as the flag and heraldic code of the Philippines. For today's discussion, we'll cover the act prescribing the code of the national flag, our Philippine national anthem, motto and other heraldic items and devices of the Philippines.
So I put a disclaimer. This is to inform my students that I do not own any of the pictures, videos presented here. So the PowerPoint was made to give my students a general information and understanding about the flag and the heraldic code of the Philippines, and not for any profit or any commercial reasons. So continue.
Chapter 1. The design of the national flag. The flag of the Philippines shall be blue, white and red, with an 8-rayed gold and yellow sun and 3 5-pointed stars, as consecrated and honored by the people. Next, the hoisting and display of the national flag. The flag shall be displayed in all public buildings, official residences, public plazas, and institutions of learning every day throughout the year. The flag shall be permanently hoisted, day and night throughout the year, in front of the following: first at Malacanang Palace, the Congress of the Philippines Building, Supreme Court Building, the Rizal Monument in Luneta, Manila, Bonifacio Monument in Caloocan City, in Emilio Aguinaldo Shrine, in Kuwait Cavite, in Marcela Agoncillo Historical Landmark, in Taal Batangas, Baraso in Church Historical Landmark in Malolos, Bulacan. And the last, the national flag shall be displayed in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, Tomb of Philippine National Heroes, Makati City, Mausoleo de los Veteranos de la Revolución, North Cemetery.
So that was the voiceover for PowerPoint presentation that I have created. So aside from learning materials and other related materials that we gave to our students online, I also send this PowerPoint presentation so that I could be able to somehow aid the learnings of my students for a better understanding of flag and the heraldic code of the Philippines. So I finished NSTP law, components of NSTP, and the 3 parts of citizenship training. So due to time constraints, so yun lang yung natapos ko because nagsimula na yung semester ng time na yon. So yun lang siya ang natapos ko. So let's continue. Next, for students project proposal for the first semester rather. So during the first semester, our students have conducted various activities that align with the course syllabus. So these two, urban gardening and first aid, are the examples. So here's the documentation of our students and the submitted output. So for urban gardening, this aims to solve the problems that occur as a result of interaction between the people and the environment. So the students were tasked to create a video or blog documenting the processes in making their urban gardening inside their homes. So as you can see, they're very productive and doing their urban gardening. And also pa dito yung plantito at plantita po. So they're very productive in collecting those plants para i-document nila on how to make an urban gardening po. So, for first aid, we used analytic rubric to our students for them to be guided accordingly with the activity. So, the students are tasked to make a video presentation demonstrating how to apply first aid in sports injuries, including wound, sprain, strain, fracture, and cramps. So again, we use analytic rubrics as what they presented yesterday. Analytic rubrics for them to be guided with activity accordingly. So proposal planning in conducting organizing event management. So this is one of the course requirements for the second semester. So at the planning stage, because the CWTS in UP Mindanao is focusing on sports management and development. So CWTS 1 is for planning, and CWTS 2 is for implementing or conducting the event that they have planned for the first semester. So at the planning stage, based on the proposed action plan, there were 4 activities that are common that our students that they want to organize or to conduct in NSTP 2. So these are the following: the recreational activity, the wellness activity, recreational games, and also the A games. Because we are in the new normal, so these activities will be done online. So they choose these 4 activities to my students to conduct while they're at homes, within the area of their homes, so that malayo sila sa virus, for their safety also of their families. So all of the activities will be done at homes. So yun siya ang for the first semester. Next, for the second semester, how the students' projects were implemented. So first is how was the project? So at this time, they are now implementing their planned activities during the first semester. So for the recreation activity, we have planning. Wellness activity, we have Zumba. Recreational games, we have Larong Pinoy. And e-games, we have mobile games. Mobile Legend rather. So actually, there's a lot of activities that our students have conducted last semester. We have Call of Duty, Among Us, bingo games, gardening, trivia nights, dictionary, snake and ladder, Scrabble, chess, etc. Marami pa talaga tang i-conduct na event. So, ito lang gilagay ko because 20 minutes lang gibigay. So, para mas mas conducive talaga siya at mas ano ko yung time. So, yun. Next is the documentation of their conducted activities. So, for the painting, recreation activities, ito yung pictures. So, the pubbots, guhit bulilit. So, their participants is mga bata. So, ito yung mga outcome, ito yung mga documentation of the output of their participants. So, napaka-creative. So, Zumba, wellness activity. So, the public is the Zumba Dance Festival 2021. So, some of our students requested their barangays to use the basketball court, and some of my students have conducted their Zumba at home, invited their friends, neighbors, etc. Larong Pinoy for recreational games. So, we have Loksong Tinik, jumping rope, tagu-taguan. So, the pagmat is dula ta Philippine Games every Saturday, every weekend. Then, the last one is Mobile Legend. So ito yung mga documentation. We have the preparation, during the conduct of activity, the documentation, and also the giving of certificate. So ito yung mga documentation nila during the conduct of activity last semester. So these are the activities or the project that our students have conducted during remote learning setup. In fact, last before of this presented documentation, we have a series of consultations on Zooms to address their concerns, queries, their updates of the respective activities that they wanted to conduct. So for 6 weeks, our students have conducted various NSTP events related to recreational activity, wellness activity, recreational games, and e-games. So talagang marami talaga silang nagawa at they are very productive in doing such activities. So we are down to the second semester. So so who were the partners? So the partners are the partners are family, friends, relatives, neighbors, and community. So we included the community because some of our students have a community organizations. Others ask their barangays to use the gyms, to use the basketball court. Well, majority of our students have their family support as they have conducted their activities at home. So next is the challenges in online implementation. So first is intermittent or sudden loss of internet connection and also the power interruption. So especially kapag umuulan, nawawala talaga yung internet connection as well as the electricity. So most of our students are living in the parkang areas. So common talaga sa challenges that they encounter during the implementation of their activities online. And the last one is an availability of some participants. Yung nagbaback out na participants, one of the challenges in conducting online events. So, however, our students still find a solution if some of their invited participants, is not available. So they still look for a solution. Future similar engagement. So I hope that in the future, more webinars and training workshops to utilize features of the LMS. So we have a lot of features in the LMS canvas. I hope that we can utilize it more. We can utilize it well. Kaya sign naman kasi yung mga features doon. Then admin support and remote learning such as online resources, internet allowance for lecturers, and also the technology training or workshop for all teaching staff. Okay, so next is the sharing of best teaching practices. So what we are doing today is we are sharing our best practices in different CUs in implementing NSTP in remote learning setup. Then the last column for the second semester is how did the students find online implementation of NSTP? So based on their reflection, they had fun doing such activities on their own, and they were very grateful to experience real-life application of conducting activities, and also they have acquired experience through hands-on individual activity, even if there are limitations due to COVID-19. So all of the conducted activities were successfully completed with our students for the entire semester. So yun siya. So yun lamang po. Thank you so much for listening. So I am Giovanni sa UP Mindanao. So may hapon sa tanan.
Thank you very much, Prof. Lapasige, for your presentation. And we would like to present our speaker with the Certificate of Appreciation. The National Service Training Program, Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, University of the Philippines Diliman presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Mr. Giovanni Lapasige for their active participation as a resource person in the NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup, given this 22nd day of July 2021 via Zoom. Signed by Dennis Kilala, Director of NSTP UP Diliman, and Giovanni Francis A. Legaspi, Deputy Director of NSRC UP Diliman. Thank you once again to Sir Giovanni.
Thank you po.
Again, a reminder to our participants on Zoom and YouTube Live, if you have any questions or comments about the presentation, you can use the chat box on YouTube or the Q&A button here on Zoom. Once again, we will have a Q&A session with our speakers later in our program. Yeah, before we proceed, ayan, we are halfway through, guys. So before we proceed, I'll give you some time to relax a bit and do stretching. Ayan, pwede rin po kayo magkape, lalo't maulan ngayon. So, okay naman po ba ang ating mga internet connections? Our audio is clear? Okay, mag-refresh lang po tayo, especially those who are watching on YouTube Live, kung mabagal po yung connection natin. And wag po tayong mahiya to send in your comments or your questions. We would love, love, love to hear them. Okay? So, our next speaker naman po will be from UP Los Baños. Dr. Rosalie Mendoza is an assistant professor at the Department of Forest Products and Paper Science, CFNR, or College of Forestry and Natural Resources at UP Los Baños. She has been teaching NSTP courses since 2015 and is currently the NSTP College Coordinator and the College Secretary of CFNR. Let us all welcome Dr. Rosalie Mendoza.
Thank you, Ma'am Nadine. So let me share my screen. Okay. So magandang hapon, magandang minsang maulan, minsang maaraw na hapon po sa inyong lahat, sa lahat ng nanonood po dito sa Zoom at sa Facebook or sa YouTube rather. So I am Rosalie Mendoza, Lali Mendoza po from UPLB, CFNR, and I will be presenting today yung mga ginawa po namin dito sa CFNR para sa aming CWTS. Okay, so making it happen, the Teaching Civic Welfare Training Service in a Remote Learning Setup. So first of all, I am grateful po sa opportunity na to para makapag-share. It's not every day that I got invited po para makapag-share ng mga ginagawa namin dito sa UPLB. So thank you, Ma'am Rosel of UPLB, yung NSTP director po namin, for this opportunity. And ginawa din po namin to last I think March po yata yun or May. Nagkaroon po kami ng NSTP Bootcamp sa UPLB where nag-share din po kami ng mga best practices namin na ginagawa para mas makatulong po sa lahat ng mga nag-handle at mga mag-handle pa ng NSTP. We seriously encourage faculty members po to be involved in teaching NSTP dito sa aming university. Okay, so breaking news. Hindi na po ako magbibigay ng madaming preview about the pre-pandemic strategies kasi ang dami na pong nasabi kahapon, kanina. So very brief intro lang po about this. So breaking news, pandemic happening, still happening now. And then we were forced to do the not so normal thing that we do sa amin dito sa UPLB, to do online teaching po. And we were seriously lost. Hindi namin alam kung paano kami mag-uumpisa. Hindi namin alam kung paano kami magtuturo. Lalo na sa isang course na katulad ng CWTS na kailangang face-to-face mo talaga siyang magagawa. Hindi namin na-try pa dati na makapag-train online. Hindi namin na-try na makapag-community service online. So ngayon, we were forced to do that. And we all know that NSTP is a very difficult course to teach. Why? Because we are training public servants. We just don't teach theories. We are molding our students to be public servants, to be responsible citizens. So kaya po, hindi siya basta-basta na ituturo mo lang kasi naaapektuhan nito yung buong pagkatao ng mga estudyante natin. So how are you going to do that in a remote learning setup? Yan po kami, loading, ang tagal, loading. But with the help of the university, yung mga webinars po na pinuntahan namin, inattenda natin, yung mga advices po na nakuha natin, yung communication po within the group, the NSTP coordinators, yung CFNR group po namin, we were able to deliver for us. And then, so what we did, a general setup po ng aming NSTP CWATS ay meron po kaming LMS, yung Learning Management System po namin, which is basically Google Classroom din po yung ginamit namin. And then, so ito po yon kung na-explore nyo na din po yung Google Classroom, yung mga kasamahan po natin dito. So ganyan naman po yung makikita natin dito sa Google Classroom. And we had, normally po sa amin, sa forestry, sa CFNR, we are doing online classes po. Kasi madami naman sa mga estudyante namin can attend. They are willing to attend. They are requesting for more online classes po. Yung mga asynchronous, yun po talaga yung mga walang masyadong access sa internet, saka gadget. And then we do not force our students to attend po ng mga meetings kasi we understand that hindi lahat ay pare-pareho ng internet stability, hindi lahat ay may maayos na laptop or tablet or desktop. So kaya po ang ginagawa namin, ina-upload po namin yung mga recordings namin, ina-upload po namin yung mga handouts namin para anytime po pwedeng ma-access ng mga estudyante namin. Then we developed, of course, before this we developed the course pack. Ito yung ang dami nating inattendan, yung mga taga-UP po, ang daming inattendan na mga webinars, diba, to help us develop our course pack. So what we did po sa UPLB, we shared yung mga course packs, we shared yung mga materials na meron kami sa umpisa pa lang. And generously po ay pinapagamit din ng mga ibang colleges po, yung kung ano yung meron sila. Meron po kaming compilation, meron kaming Google Drive kung saan nandun lahat ng mga materials namin for NSTP, LTS, CWATS, and ROTC po. And then, so, wait lang po. And then, this is for the common, for the NSTP 1. Nabanggit na po kahapon ni Sir Masangkay na nung first sem po ang tinuturo namin ay NSTP 2, pero pag second sem po ang tinuturo namin ay NSTP 1 dahil po yun dun sa schedule para makahabol kami dun sa mga bata na tuturuan ng mga nag-LTS. So kaya po nagpalit yung aming schedule. So for NSTP 1 po that we taught this second sem, so meron po kaming mga common modules and nabanggit niya din po kahapon yung ginawa po ng CFNR to deliver na common modules po ng NSTP 1. So, for the common module 1 and 2 naman po, ito yung kaya pang mag-meet. Nag-meet po kami per class po, per FIC, minimit po namin yung mga estudyante namin. So, small group lang po kami, around 20 to 25 students lang po kami per section. So, common modules 1 and 2 po, ganun yung ginawa namin. But starting common module 3 hanggang matapos po 7, we really made effort to invite resource persons capable of discussing the common module topic. So, ito po, halimbawa sa citizenship training, si attorney po yung na-invite namin. And ang ginawa nga po namin, katulad ng sabi ni Sir Jetro kahapon, sinishare po namin siya. So, nila-livestream po namin siya sa Facebook ng CFNR. And then, yung recording po, once na maging available na siya, ilalagay ko din po siya doon sa Google folder ng NSTP, UPLB, para anytime po, ma-access po ng mga faculty, ng mga FICs from other colleges na gusto pong gamitin yung aming references. The handouts provided by the resource persons, we also uploaded those materials in the folder po. Ganun po kami, every meeting, mula nung mag-start yung Common Module 3, para po kaming may talk show sa aming, sa aming college. So, team effort po talaga to yung ginawa namin. Kasi hindi din po biro na mag-set up every week ng mga webinars po online. So, ang hirap na magkaroon ng mga problema, technical difficulty. So, ganyan po yung ginawa namin every meeting. So, for the drugs education, we invited someone from PIDEA po, si Sir Ko. And then, from the RRM naman po, yung para sa disaster risk reduction and management namin. And then for the national security concerns, we invited Dr. Banlawi para mag-discuss po sa amin. And then for the environmental protection, we invited someone from FMB na naging estudyante din po namin dito sa UPLB and from Greenpeace po. So yan yung naging takbo ng aming common module series. Then of course, we opened the Zoom meeting po sa mga pwedeng umattend. Kaya lang po dahil limited yung kayang participant, so pinaprioritize din po muna namin yung mga estudyante namin. Then naka-livestream naman po siya sa Facebook. So pwede din pong manood doon yung mga at ibang estudyante from other colleges. Then we have the component module naman po, yung CWTS component. So meron din po kasi siyang several modules. Ito naman po yung ginawa namin. So yung mga available na materials po from pahinungod, yung na-develop po na manual, we use that. And we develop assessment tools na effective online po. So medyo nag-revise lang po kami kasi that manual was meant for face-to-face po delivery. So medyo kailangan namin siyang i-revise para mas maging angkop po sa ating sitwasyon ngayon. So yan po yung mga naging topics po namin sa component module. Then we also have may mga workshops din po yung mga bata. So nag-breakout rooms po kami during our online meetings. Nagre-report din po sila, nag-represent sila ng mga outputs po nila during our online meetings po. Meron din po mga requirements na sinasubmit sa Google Classroom. Then, of course, we did the organizing training, the development of the NA, and training needs analysis and training design. Can you imagine na kapag role play po kami, natawa po ako dun sa mga klase namin kasi kahit na virtual kami, may mga sound effects ka na madidinig na parang may telepono na nagiring, may gripo na tumutulo yung tubig. So ganun po, nag-effort din talaga yung mga bata to deliver yung mga kailangan po nilang i-deliver given the limitations that we had. So ito po yung mga ginawa namin for component module 4 and component module 5. So dito po sa 5, dito na yung talagang tututukan muna yung skills ng mga bata to facilitate development projects po. So nag-create kami ng mga committees, tapos sila po kasi yung nagkaplano ng project po nila, which I will discuss po in a while. So ang pinaka-output po namin for the CWTS 1 ay webinar. So naki-ride kami sa uso yung webinar po. So nag-implement kami ng webinar na ang organizer po ay yung mga estudyante po namin. So ito po yung mga samples ng mga topics that the students delivered po. Yung mga in-effort po nila na gawan ng mga webinar. So coping with remote learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, we realized po habang nagbe-brainstorm kami ng mga kasamahan ko sa CFNR ng mga FICs, kapag face-to-face, lagi tayong lumalabas. Lagi nating, yung nire-reach natin, yung mga communities sa labas. But right now, naisip po namin, nagsasuffer din yung mga estudyante natin. Community din sila. So yung mga estudyante natin ay community din. Why not sila naman yung maging recipient ng mga activities natin, ng mga projects natin. So ang naging recipient po ng mga activities ng CFNR CWTS team po ay yung mga estudyante din. So sila yung community na tinutukan namin during our delivery of CWTS po. So these are some of the topics po na ginawa ng webinar ng mga bata na ang recipient din po ay yung mga estudyante din. So coping with remote learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, keeping afloat, discovering hobbies and motivational methods amidst the pandemic. Ang nakakatawa po dito, sino ang mga RPs? Yung mga bata din po, isa sa kanila, nag-serve as RP. Ginawa po naming training ground, yung CWTS 1, para pag lumabas na sila, meron na silang magiging target talaga ng community, maalam sila kung paano maggagawa o magdi-deliver ng isang community project, katulad nitong webinar. So sila po yung mga committee, sila din yung mga committee, sila yung program and invitation, sila yung webinar management committee, sila din yung sa evaluation committee. So lahat po ng ginagawa ng isang parang team para makabuo ng webinar, ginawa po yan ng mga estudyante namin dito sa college. So per class po, iba-iba yung topic na discuss po ng mga bata. So yan, may nag-talk din po about financial management. So magugulat din po tayo kasi ang dami din pong alam talaga ng mga estudyante natin. Now, for the enrollees po, napansin ko po last webinar, madami yung takers ng LTS sa mga ibang universities kumpara sa CWTS. So sa amin po, dito sa CFNR, specifically, mas madami po yung takers ng CWTS kumpara sa LTS. So, sa iba po, sa ibang universities, mas madami LTS pala. I mean, dito sa forestry po, mas madami po yung takers ng CWTS. Konti lang po yung takers namin ng LTS. And I believe parang ganun po yung general trend namin dito sa UPLB. So, ito yung mga challenges po, common challenges po that the students encountered sa ating setup ngayon, which are similar also dun sa mga na-discuss na ng ating mga RPs. Okay din po yung medyo nahuhuli para madami na po silang na-discuss. So, ganun din po kasi mga naranasan po namin. So, may mga bata na nagkasakit din, hectic schedule, naninibago po talaga yung mga estudyante natin ngayon na feeling po nila ang dami talaga mga requirements. Hindi lang sa CWTS o hindi lang sa NSTP, kundi maski sa iba pong mga courses pa. Internet connection po, of course, hindi lahat ay maayos ang speed ng internet po nila. Lack of interaction, nilolong din po talaga ng mga bata yung classroom setup po natin, yung face-to-face interaction po natin. Kasi ang hirap po mag-communicate ng online lang na hindi mo talaga nakikita yung kausap mo. So that is for the CWTS 1. Now, for the CWTS 2 po, yung NSTP 2 namin that we delivered first semester. So meron din po kaming mga component modules. And magkamag-anak naman po, di ba? Magkamag-anak naman po yung mga modules ng CWTS 1 doon sa CWTS 2. So ito din po yung mga topics namin. So for the common module 3 po, so nagkaroon ng mga group presentations, nagkaroon ng mga reflection papers. For the module 4 po, ito na yung mag-umpisa ulit na pag-aralan, paano actually review na lang kasi nagawa na nila nung CWTS 1. So re-review ulit nila how to do yung organizing a training. And then for component module 5 naman, ito ay focus ulit sa TNA and TD. And then community organizing and facilitation skills ulit ang tututukan for the component module 6. So dito po, since may draft TNA na sila and TD, sa module 6 po ay continue pa din po yung preparation nila for the TNA and TD po. And then for module 7 po, yung community development project planning na. So nagkakaroon ulit tayo ng mga presentation ng proposal sa mga bata, nagkakaroon ulit ng mga committees. ito na po yung mag-organize na din po yung mga bata talaga nung webinar. So, katulad po ng sabi ko kanina, yung mga ginawa po namin for CFNR po na mga projects ay mostly po webinars po yung projects nila. So, hindi po kami lumabas kasi bawal din naman po na lumabas talaga yung mga bata o pumunta sa mga communities na pwede nilang tulungan o pwede nilang gawing recipient ng kanilang mga proyekto po. So, nag-focus lang po muna kami sa online na delivery ng mga projects po. And again, the communities that we selected ay yung mga estudyante po natin. Ito po yung ginawa namin for the NSTP CWTS 2. Kasi po, ang CWTS 2 namin, katulad ng sabi ko kanina, dinideliver namin siya per SEM. Ito yung SEM na nangangapa kami lahat. So what we did ay nag-brainstorm po yung mga FICs namin kung paano kami makakabuo ng isang proyekto, ng isang CWTS project po. So ang ginawa po namin ay nag-isip nga po kami ng webinar na ang recipient po ay yung mga estudyante namin dito sa CFNR. At we were fortunate enough to find an RP na magdi-deliver po ng topic na napili ng mga bata about mindfulness and coping with anxiety in the midst of a pandemic. Ang na-invite po namin na RP is from the National Institute of Health in US po. So, nung nag-webinar kami, umaga sa kanya, early morning sa kanya, tapos gabi naman po dito sa Pilipinas. So, we were able to pull it off po, yung webinar na to, which is parang kahit naninibago kami, we can proudly say na i-deliver naman po namin siya ng maayos. So, nakapag-organize po yung mga bata ng webinar, and according to the reflection papers din po ay very helpful din po sa kanila yung mga na-discuss dito sa webinar na ito. So, yan po yung screenshots ng mga nangyari po doon sa webinar namin. So, ito naman po yung mga enrollees namin first SEM. So, konti lang po yung mga naging estudyante po namin sa CWTS. And same challenges po katulad nung kanina. So, ito naman po yung mga evaluation po nila. So, again, communication po is really a challenge po sa mga estudyante. And sa iba naman po, naging interactive po yung discussion at naging enjoyable po yung pagdi-deliver nila ng project, ng webinar project po nila. Sa iba naman po, ang tingin din po nila ay successful po yung mga projects na ginawa namin sa CWTS. And it is effective in such a way that we are able to think of about newly introduced aspects in this course. So, majority naman po ng kasi nagkakaroon po kami ng reflection paper every end ng SEM. So, positive naman po yung mga natatanggap natin na mga feedbacks. So, yan. Pero hindi po mawawala yung problema sa group project. So, laging may mga problema po sa group project. Merong mga nakikiride lang na mga members, merong isa lang na nagkatrabaho. So, merong hindi nakikinig yung ibang groupmates daw sa suggestions nila. So, talagang hindi po nawawala yung mga ganyang problema. Ito din po yung mga challenges na-encounter po ng mga bata. Na doble lang po yung resources. So, ito po yung team namin before my time ends. Ito po yung team namin sa CFNR na ako po personally as coordinator, hindi ko po magagawa yung trabaho ko kung hindi po ako tinutulungan ng mga tao na to. So how did we make it happen po? Sa level pa lang ng UPLB, yung coordinator po, dun pa lang sa director, very open po yung communication, saka yung teamwork po namin. It really helped us po para malampasan namin itong nagdaang 2 semestre, nagdaang hindi normal na semestre sa atin. So yung pag-share namin ng mga resources, yung prompt na pagsagot sa mga inquiries po, it helped us a lot. And then yung communication and teamwork, yun po talaga yung naging bala namin para malampasan ng 2 semestre na nakalipas. For the seminar po, the faculty in charge always meet po. Lagi po kami nag-meet. Ngayon lang din po kami nakaranas na magbuo ng course pack ng sama-sama. So lahat po ng isang course pack lang po ang ginamit namin sa lahat ng mga klase namin. So pare-pareho po yun. Tulong-tulong po namin yung ginawa. At napaka-importante po nun para ma-lessen din po yung burden ng bawat isa. So that is the end of my discussion po. And thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Mendoza. Now I'd like to present you with the certificate of appreciation for your insightful presentation. Ayan. The National Service Training Program, Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, University of the Philippines Diliman presents this certificate of appreciation to Assistant Professor Rosalie Mendoza for their active participation as a resource person in the NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup, given this 22nd day of July 2021 via Zoom. Signed by Dennis Kelala, Director of NSTP UP Diliman, and Giovanni Francis A. Legaspi, Deputy Director of NSRC UP Diliman. Thank you once again to Dr. Mendoza.
Thank you po.
For our final presenter, mula naman po sa UP Open University, Ms. Luan May Kalipayan. Ms. Luan is the faculty in charge of the CWTS courses in UP Open University, handling the courses since 2019. A graduate of Master of Development Communication from UP Open University and BA Broadcast Communication from UP Diliman. She has been engaged in development work for almost 2 decades, particularly in disability and Philippine traditional healing. She thus draws from her experiences in the development sector and her own experiences as a distance learner to effectively implement CWTS in a distance learning context. Ms. Luan Kalipayan will share her video presentation, but she will be with us for the Q&A later.
Pleasant greetings to everyone. Good afternoon.
Hello, all right. While waiting po, we're just having a technical difficulty. So we'll ask again our participants to send in your questions po or your comments about the presentations earlier. So wag po kayo mahiya. You can either send them through the chat box sa YouTube, chat box here at Zoom or sa YouTube live po natin. So yun po. I hope you're having a great time today and marami po tayong natutunan dun sa mga una nating presentations. Ayan. And we have our last na po and then later yung Q&A session na po natin. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, I'm going to share with you how we are implementing CWTS in UPOU. UPOU CWTS is really designed for distance learners. Since we have one large class for CWTS, the class typically looks like this. So first, our students are geographically delocalized. So they are in Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and abroad. Second, many students are employed or are taking care of their families full-time. Some have health conditions or disabilities. And we also have young people who chose OU because they prefer independent study and they believe they would do better in such a setup. And take note, We have a wide age range. So we have students who are in their teens, around 16, 17, to students in their 40s and beyond. So with a class this diverse, it can be really challenging for groups to even just find common schedules to meet. So in OU, our CWATS is designed to be very flexible to enable our learners to still engage in community service activities given their particular situation. So in OU, we recognize that community service can be rendered not just in person, but also online, or a blend of both. So students can choose to serve their local community, a sector of society through a service-oriented organization, or an online community. So before the pandemic, we strongly encouraged students who are in the same location to meet up because this is actually a rare opportunity for them to actually meet classmates face to face. So those who could, usually students in Metro Manila, did face to face projects. Meanwhile, groups with members in other parts of the country or abroad did either blended or fully online projects. When the pandemic happened, we strongly encouraged them to work fully online. However, while we had students who were minors and were restricted from going out, we also had students who were in COVID-free areas where even minors were allowed to go out following basic health protocols. And in COVID areas, we also had responsible adult students who were going out for work. So during the pandemic, the resulting projects were still a mix of face-to-face, blended, and online projects, though the face-to-face projects were only in COVID-free areas. So how do we implement CWATS in UPOU? In UPOU, we are fully asynchronous. So all our interactions are through forum discussions on my portal. So I begin with a forum asking them what changes they would want to see in the world. This is actually mainly a grouping mechanism so they can meet classmates with similar inclinations. They then group themselves into barangays of at most 5 members. Then they assess what their barangay has in terms of skills, interests, resources, connections, and availability, so they know what their group has to offer. Then they look for an org or community working for the cause they like, and then initiate contact. If the org agrees to the partnership, then they move on to the next stage. They then find out what their partner needs, and then they decide which needs they can do something about. Then they create a plan and identify 2 milestones that they will give reports on. Then they post the plan on the forum for feedback and approval, and then start implementing. 2 weeks after that, they submit their first video milestone report so that the class can see how the projects are unfolding. After 2 weeks, there is another milestone report and a final report which they submit at the end of their project. So student projects usually address needs for resources, volunteer workers, and communication or organizational support. So at this point, I will share a range of projects classified according to the needs they address, beginning with resource generation projects. So one project was Safe Against COVID-19 by Barangay Bukang Liwayway. One member of the group had experienced being COVID positive and had experienced firsthand the need for additional equipment. So they provided 4 sphygmomanometers, 4 stethoscopes, 4 pulse oximeters, and some batteries to the Pasig quarantine facility. These were delivered via courier. There were also other projects that used the same approach. So Project MAPA by the same group responded to the need for more modules because they found that the students were sharing one module because of the lack of printed copies. So the group gathered supplies from family, friends, and micro-enterprises, then worked with the advisor to provide printed modules for one grade 4 class in Baliwag, Bulacan, so that the students would have a 1:1 ratio of modules, at least for that month. Meanwhile, Barangay Calusini provided 4 power banks, connectors, bond papers, and school supplies for the students of the Mangyan Alangan community in Oriental Mindoro. Meanwhile, Barangay Simbuyo harnessed the knowledge and skills of its members in multimedia and the prior knowledge in accountancy, business, and management of two of their members from senior high. They pooled their money for seed capital to produce original merchandise. Then they sold these on a pre-order basis to generate funds, which they then donated to the Angels of the Strays Animal Shelter in Binangonan, Rizal. Another project is Project Bakuna. No, this has nothing to do with vaccination. Bakuna is a nickname for Bahay Kubo Natin, a community garden in Los Baños, Laguna, which needed planting materials for ginger. So the proponent, Ms. Bendange, partnered with small online sellers to resell their goods at a profit for the community garden. Meanwhile, Project BFF, or Boosting and Feeding Frontliners, is an example of a Plan B project because their first plan fell through. Barangay Pagmaya is a group of 3 guys who decided to earn the funds they needed by doing jobs such as store tending, gardening, car washing, and art commissions. They then pooled their earnings and prepared messages of encouragement to go with the meals and had the food delivered to the frontliners at the hospital. Now we go on to groups that responded to the need for people. Barangay Alpas partnered with Autism Society Philippines Laguna chapter. They conducted Zoom activities for children with autism and donated funds for the beneficiaries' mobile data for teletherapy, as this was a sudden added expense for the org and was not part of their original budget. Project Padayon, Sulong Barrio Edukasyon by Barangay Educatribo, provided tutorials for students at risk of failing at the Sabang National High School in Ponlillo Island. They coordinated with the faculty in charge who helped identify the students who needed the support. Originally, they planned on video tutorials but branched off to Facebook and face-to-face tutorials because a number of the identified students had no internet access and lived in a COVID-free barangay. This project, CSR launched 2021 by JP Suarez, was actually inspired and based on what he learned from CWTS 1. Their BPO CSR activities had ceased during the pandemic. However, he saw how the groups in our class were volunteering right smack in the middle of the lockdowns. And he saw how much their help was needed since most of the orgs really suffered from a decline in resources. So his project was to voluntarily lead the restarting of their CSR activities based on the process we did in class across their 10,000 employee strong enterprise. And now we move on to the projects involving communication and organization support. So one project was a self-initiated social media awareness campaign in the early months of the pandemic. The group, Anak ng Pasig, wanted to help spread awareness about COVID, but did not want to add to the fear. So they designed a cute mascot, David the COVID, and launched a social media awareness campaign to spread awareness about COVID, as well as updates from official sources. Meanwhile, Project Iingat by Catherine Piroinen, a student based in Finland. While Catherine was taking Vika 1, she became aware of the importance of breaking down language barriers during a pandemic. So she decided to create a translation website for pandemic and health-related terms for the Filipino-Finnish community. So for CWTS, our goal was just to get the basic site up and running. She will continue working on it after CWTS. Meanwhile, this project, Raising Awareness for Linear and Circular Economies by Barangay Luntian, produced an advocacy video for the education component of Circular Reclaim. Initially, the group got together because they all believed in working against single-use plastics. But through this partnership, their understanding of the issue deepened and broadened. They learned it was not just about single-use plastics, it was about the entire economy. Meanwhile, Project BEN, or Better Education for the Nation, was a partnership between Barangay Kamalayan and Tarambid Incorporated, an organization that supports mountain school communities in Antique. The group boosted the org's social media presence by designing content under the guidance and approval of Tarambid, so they increased engagement and followers and created a manual on how to maintain it, which they turned over to Tarambid. So what were the challenges in implementation? Well, the biggest concern really is that there is a tendency for students to give low priority to CWATS because it is a non-academic course. As we have seen earlier in OU, while students are dedicated to their studies, most of them do have priorities that are more pressing than academics. So when the going gets rough, CWATS gets rough. A related challenge to this is the apprehension from young students who have no experience at all in spearheading their own projects. And many students also don't like working in groups. And of course, there are the real world challenges. When plans don't work out, when group mates or partners suddenly disappear, or disaster strike, etc. So given all of these, the course is designed with as many possible motivation factors built in. Because for me, I don't want them doing this just for compliance. I want them to really go through the full experience because they will learn a lot from it. And that's really the essence of CWATS. As for lessons learned, in my experience, the right group is crucial to project success. So far, location and interest-based groupings have worked well in our classes. The second lesson is the choice of partners. This is the part that students find really hard, but this is also where they gain the confidence to reach out and initiate projects by themselves, which is a very important part of active citizenship. So the most important thing here is for them to find responsive, committed partners that actually need them. Third, a positive environment is very important. So everything in the course is designed to help them succeed and have an overall positive experience, because ultimately that is what will make them want to keep on doing it. So how did students find the online implementation of CWATS? A lot of students actually come away from it amazed at what they were able to do. Despite the distance from each other, despite the lockdowns, despite even everything they thought that they could not do. So I will share a few excerpts from students themselves to show perspectives from different types of students on the CWATS experience. So here is one from a first year student. She said that, I learned students like me are not powerless. I can help, we can help, we can make a change. When given a chance, people are willing to help the less fortunate. We can create chances for other people to help. We can help by extending other people's help. That's what we can do for now, since we're not that financially capable just yet. Meanwhile, a second year student and first time volunteer had this to say. I have learned so many things from CWATS too. One of the most important skills I have learned from CWATS is the creation of PubMats, on which our project relied on. My experiences with my group mates also sharpened my leadership skills because it taught me how to be proactive and direct with people when needed. Overall, the CWATS 2 course made me realize that volunteerism should be at the core of our curriculum, from primary school to university, because it is through exposing the youth to the realities of their environment that they could make relevant contributions to their community. And meanwhile, a graduating student had this to say. I believe that CWATS must be considered as one of the major courses and should be included in GWA computation. Citizenship is very essential in keeping Filipino values. If mathematics, for example, can make the student work harder to get a good GWA, CWATS deserves it too. It is time for us to work harder to be a better citizen. And while CWATS was primarily designed for young people, Here we can see what it can bring to an adult learner who is a mom and a wife. So she says, for me overall, it was a good learning experience. As a full-time mom and housewife who rarely leaves the house, being part of this project reminded me of my duties as a citizen. I actually gained a lot from taking their course, social awareness and responsibility, and even new friends. The most important lessons are collaboration, sharing a part of yourself with others, being reminded of your duties and responsibilities as a Filipino, helping others, and making a difference. And lastly, that gender, age, and religion know no boundaries when people get together to achieve a common goal. The course is effective even for distance learners like me. So after CWAT, students have told me that because of what they did in class, they got up the courage to reach out to organizations and volunteer. They gained confidence in themselves and their abilities. They gained new skills and they gained friends, which is very important in distance learning, and especially amid a pandemic that enforces distance. So this is a really big win, especially since many of them admit to never liking group work before. But most of all, they realize the value and power of active citizenship, that they, no matter who they are, where they are, what they can do or not do, that they actually have the power to contribute to their communities. They realize that all that is really needed to contribute is that they care enough to do something. And this care is really something we should be emphasizing, especially at this time, because ultimately, it is what spells the difference between knowing the problem, knowing what to do, and actually doing something about it. In the university, we have so many units dedicated to training the mind. We have 12 units dedicated to training the body. But as human beings, we are not just brains and bodies. Where in all this do we educate the heart? It should be in NSTP and CWATs, where we educate the heart. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Kalipayan. We would like to present our speaker with the certificate of appreciation. And the National Service Training Program, Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, University of the Philippines Diliman presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Ms. Luan May Kalipayan for their active participation as a resource person in the NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup, given this 22nd day of July 2021 via Zoom. Signed by Dennis Kilala, Director of NSTP UP Diliman, and Giovanni Francis A. Legaspi, Deputy Director of NSRC UP Diliman. Thank you very much, Ms. Kalipayan.
Thank you very much po, Ma'am Medina.
Ayan. And now we are done with all our presentations. And nakakatuwa po na after all the presentations, we can already see po kung ano yung mga common challenges na na-encounter po ng ating mga professors when they did the remote learning setup for almost a year now. Diba? So makikita natin doon that there's a problem with yon internet connection issues, yung power, and of course the situation of the students during the pandemic. And we can't do a face-to-face learning setup due to health protocols. So, pero nakakatuwa din na nagkaroon sila ng creative ways to overcome this. Like sa UP Mindanao, Mr. Giovanni Lapasige mentioned yung mga like Zumba, painting, and of course yung ibang professors din natin na they were also able to use technology to connect to other people, overcome the distance, and um, get speakers from different parts of the Philippines and kahit sa US meron din, 'di ba? And at the same time, they're also learning skills, di ba? For students na they're able to do video presentations, vlogs, mga pub materials. That's also a good learning experience for them despite na hindi sila nakakapag face-to-face with our teachers. Ayun. And another thing, lastly, I would just like to add, natutuwa talaga ako kasi makita din natin na yung current problems natin with the pandemic are also addressed during this time. So example po is yung from Dr. Rosalie po, when yung mga resource speaker is also students, tapos sila din yung recipient. And then even yung mga projects natin from UP Open University na example na lang po yung Project Safe and Project Mapa. So ina-address din niya yung mga current problems natin ngayon. So and siguro yun lang, I would just add din yung presentation kanina ni Miss Luan. Nakakatuwa po. Ano siya ng damdamin. Na totoo, we are not powerless and we are capable to do something. And we can always bring positive change or impact to our community. So, I think that's the essence talaga naman ng CWTS. Ayan. Thank you so much. So, just to wrap up lang po yung afternoon session natin. So, thank you again to our speakers, Assistant Professor Reginald Vallejos from UP Manila, Mr. Giovanni Lapisigue from UP Mindanao, Dr. Rosalie Mendoza from UP Los Baños, and of course, Ms. Luan Calipayan from UP Open University. Ayan. So now, let us invite them back for the Q&A, and we'll be reading the questions sent by our participants through the Zoom registration in the Q&A tab and from the YouTube chat box. Ayan. Okay. So, ready na po ba tayo? Para tayong nasa Miss U. Pero ito na. Okay, first question po para sa lahat ng speakers natin. So, for the CWTS project proposal and implementation, are there any restrictions such as limited on remote online work only? Or are students allowed to conduct face-to-face activities? Ayan. Anyone po?
Hi, ma'am.
Si Miss, okay.
Sige
Si
po,
Miss,
ma'am.
okay. Dr. Rosalie po. Sige po. Mauna muna. Ladies first.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. So, sa UPLB po, personally sa, sa 7R, hindi po kami nag-conduct ng face-to-face kasi bawal po.
Yes.
Bawal po. So, mapapagalitan po kami kasi ilalagay din natin sa risk yung mga bata. So, kaya big no po yan sa amin. Sir, ikaw na.
Ganun din po sa UP Manila. Dahil siyempre nasa NCR kami, no? So medyo risky pagka pinalabas namin yung mga bata for face-to-face. So online lang talaga yung implementation.
Yes. But kay Mr. Giovanni.
Sa UP Mindanao din po, we don't encourage our students to conduct their activity face-to-face kasi nga marami din dito sa amin na cases. So, for their safety and for the health of their family na lang din po. So, we encourage them to conduct their activities at home with their families. Ganun po activities.
For us naman po, I'd also like to answer at this point Mr. Armando Salazar's question. Kasi nagtanong po siya sa chat box, may I inquire how you choose non-COVID barangays? The answer po is actually, I do not choose. Kasi it's the students who create their projects and then they know the situation in their area. Actually, when the student presented, actually sabi ko na as much as possible fully online. But then the students would say, ma'am, kahit wala pong cases sa barangay namin. And then the students really needed the support. So in that case, parang unfair din naman na I would stop them kasi in their area, pwedeng lumabas yung mga bata provided they wear masks. So in that case, inalaw ko na siya. And then as it turned out, talagang kailangan kasi yung mga naging estudyante nila, nakikita nila tumatambak yung modules kasi hindi naiintindihan pala yung lectures. And then yung iba walang access to internet. So wala silang access to other resources. Kung halimbawa hindi nila naintindihan yung lectures ng teacher. So ang interesting actually dito na lumabas, kasi ang original idea nila, like I mentioned, was just to create video tutorials na ipopost nila sa Facebook page ng school. But then they realized na it wasn't enough. Kasi the students were asking questions now that could not be answered by the tutorials. So what happened was they went on to Facebook tutorials. Now the students would send them pages from modules na yung hindi nila naiintindihan. And then they would help to explain kung anong ibig sabihin ng nakalagay doon sa modules. And then yun, the last portion was actually done yung sa nag face-to-face sila. It was done with the consent of the parents, both the parents of the students and the parents of the students who were the tutees and the FIC of the school. Kasi nakita nila na kailangan talagang tulungan yung mga bata. And then yun, so I do not choose, and I actually, kung ako lang masusunod, I would rather have them all na online. But then yun nga, on one hand, we have students in COVID-free barangays, and on the other hand, we have adults in NCR in Metro Manila na responsible adults na who are actually going out. So yun, that's why na meron pa rin kaming, nagkakaroon pa rin ng face-to-face component, although hindi siya yung full project na face-to-face. Parang maliit lang siya na portion. So yun. So I hope that answered the question.
All right. Sige po, thank you so much. So now, let's proceed po dun sa second question naman natin. So this is addressed also to all our speakers again. So do you have any academic credit load for handling NSTP 1 or NSTP 2 in your CU? May anyone po?
Yes, ma'am.
Ayan, Miss Rosalie.
So sa amin po, daw nasagot na din ng aming NSTP Director, si ABC Colyado. Thank you, Ma'am Rosel. So ngayong SEM po, nag-start kami, actually last SEM, nag-start kami na maging 3 units po yung teaching credit load ng NSTP 1 and 2. Dati po siyang 1.5, saka yung pinaghahati-hatian pa. So yun po yung meron sa amin, teaching load credit po. And for the coordinatorship naman po, kasi bawat college may coordinator po ng NSTP, and then may assistant coordinator din po kami. Yung coordinator naman po ay merong admin load po na 3 units. So may ALC po yung mga coordinators.
Okay, all right. Meron pa pong mag-a-add? Okay. Okay, I think wala na. So let us now proceed po dun sa next question. So this is addressed to the 3 speakers, si Mr. Giovanni, Dr. Mendoza, and Ms. Luan. Okay. Okay, sorry. Yun pala yung the second question. I'm so sorry. Eto. Can you kindly share with us, audience, to Ma'am Luan from Maria Elenita de Castro, can you kindly share with us, audience, how the analytic type of assessment you mentioned a while ago in your presentation is being formulated?
Okay, so i-share ko yung project namin na gagawa. Allow me to share it. So, this rubric po, ito na po yung rubric namin na gagawa for the further conducted or their activity plan or proposal. So based on their activity proposal, so we use analytic rubric for them to be guided correctly. So we have excellent, proficient, basic, below basic, then we have the indicators, the subject matter, the creative necessary descriptors, final product, and the structure and flow. Then we also use holistic rubric on how they deliver the course, the conducted or the proposed action plan in the new normal. So ito yung gigawa namin na holistic rubric on how they conducted their proposed activity plan. So ito siya, the section 1, the preparation, the section 2, the program, and the section 3 is the overall, how's the event. So we use two assessment tools in grading or give a on checking our students' output. So we have the analytic rubric for their activity plan or proposal, and also we use a on how they conducted their proposed activity plan. So using this analytic holistic rubric rather. So we have preparation, the program, and also the overall how's the event. So yun po, I hope I could answer your question po.
All right, thank you. To Professor Luan then. Uh, hello. Miss Luan was also sorry. So the question was also addressed to Ma'am Luan po. So could you share with us how the analytic type of assessment you mentioned a while ago during your presentation is formulated?
Si Sir Giovanni po yun. I did not mention that po.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. I think meron pa ba tayong any questions from the audience? All right. I think we are done with the question and answer portion. Pero if ever po na meron pa po tayong mga tanong later, you can personally address them naman to our professors para they can answer those questions for you. Ayun. But ayan. So now let us proceed po to close today's webinar. Let us call on Ms. Rona Marie Verenya, the Director of the Ugnayan ng Pahinungod, UP Open University, will be sharing us a few words.
Pleasant greetings to everyone. Good afternoon. Today, we close the NSTP Online webinar on CWTS implementation in a remote teaching and learning setup. Yours truly, representing the Faculty of Education and the Ugnayan ng Pahinungod UPOU, expresses the optimism and rich hope as shared by our speakers that delivery of CWTS instruction and implementation, despite the challenging restrictions of the pandemic, would shape and build young future leaders and volunteers. This shows how the CWTS can be a complementary partner of the Ugnayan ng Pahinungod and other units in the university system in the delivery of public service through the community engagement of our students. This NSTP webinar also manifests the viability of NSTP students in reaching out to others in the community using alternative modalities aside from the conventional learning. Thus, aside from their compliance with the legal mandate of the NSTP and the corresponding connect of knowledge through CWTS activities, students get exposed to several opportunities where they can think seriously on how they may improve the lives of people and communities they desire to serve and empower. This gathering of minds and sharing of best practices in CWTS from all UP constituent units can be replicated and customized to find the most fruitful use in their respective locale. These practices may develop awareness among our NSTP and CWTS coordinators and those from other universities on how the NSTP and CWTS activities may be made functional in remote and blended modes of learning. Moreover, the shared insights and experiences in the webinars will go a long way towards creating more activities, which later on may be translated into advocacies from education, health, agriculture, environment, entrepreneurship, sanitation, food production, disaster preparedness and response, work with indigenous communities, and others. But more importantly, the concept of the Giao or Bayanihan is the most evident feature of the webinars. Appreciation is a must to people involved in this activity. The coming together of NSTP directors and respective coordinators from the different CUs is much like sharing shoulders to ensure that modes of remote and blended NSTP course delivery and worthy community engagement are effectively disseminated for possible implementation. It is hoped that after the webinars, the experiences shared here will not be stuck in our mental closets, and that words like leadership, public service, commitment, compassion only become mere verbiage. Instead, let them be beacons to light our way as deliverers of knowledge and actions that will help our service clientele. Congratulations to all and keep safe, everyone.
Thank you very much for that inspiring message, Ms. Verenia. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you again to all our speakers and all our participants on Zoom and YouTube Live. Magkikita-kita po tayo ulit para naman sa last leg ng NSTP Online on LTS next week, Tuesday on July 27. And for those who missed or would like to revisit today's session, you can still watch it on UP Diliman NSTP's YouTube channel. Just search for NSTP Diliman or NSTP Online on YouTube. And you can also subscribe ayan, para hindi kayo maka-miss out ng any updates po. So, and of course, to our participants, please don't forget to accomplish the evaluation form for the certificates. So the link is on the screen and on the chat box. So click nyo lang po yon and then accomplish the form. So yon. Alright, muli ako po si Nadine Doran. Maraming salamat po. Magandang hapon sa ating lahat.
Sa iba kundi sa iyo at sa akin ang simula ng pagbabago. Panahon na para bumangon at paikutin muli ng tama ang mundo. Suliranin ng ating lipunan, unti-unting magagawan ng paraan. Sa bagong siglo na ito ng ating mga buhay, tayo'y magsama-sama. Bigyang liwanag ang daan, maging gabay sa lipunan, kailangan ng iyong kamay.
Halika na kapwa Pilipino, halika na kapwa isko at iska.
Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo. Ang armas mo ay ang iyong natutunan, serbisyong sasagip sa mamamayan mula sa kahirapan. Halika na, kapwa mandirigma, magtagumpay kapwa isko at piska. Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo.
Huwag mong iasa sa iba kundi sa'yo at sa akin ang simula ng pagbabago.